You're listening to
I Don't Do Sci-Fi.
Episode 7, Double Dumbass on You.
Hello and welcome to I Don't Do Sci-Fi. I'm Rebecca Ray and with me are John Ailes.
Hello.
And Dani Ray.
Hi!
So last time we showed Dani the 1972 BBC drama The Stone Tape. Just to remind listeners, what did you think of The Stone Tape, Dan?
I loved it.
You loved it, didn't you?
I loved it. It was so good.
This and Star Cups have been your favourites, haven't they?
Yeah, they've been my favourites, both of them. For different reasons, but yes, I really loved it.
This episode we're going to focus on not one, not two, but three films from the 1980s. Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, and Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. But before we get into discussing our chosen sci-fi, I want to introduce our guest for this episode, Carl Bowler from Westlake Films. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Rebecca, John, Dani. Good to see you all.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, it's good to see you. So, how have you been, Carl? What have you been up to?
Well, other than watching the 3 best Star Trek films ever made, I have also been writing a book about, at time of recording, 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer, and my experiences of going through the hospital system, as I work for the NHS, and it was interesting to do it from the point of view of someone who works in the NHS, going through that experience, and I have a brilliant editor in the form of Rebecca.
Thank you, Carl. We look forward to reading that when you finally... you're going to self-publish it, aren't you?
Yeah, self-publish it through Amazon.
Yeah.
And I've had a word with the trust I work at since I was a patient there, and they're going to use some of my experience to help them to develop some of how they work.
Yeah.
As
oh,
well.
That sounds
That's
good.
really
then.
good, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I say, from my point of view, I think it'd be really interesting to read as well, as someone else who works for the NHS.
Yeah.
Just to see it from the other side, see it from the other...
It's weird.
I really can imagine it. I mean, I can only really relate to like our mother being in hospital about 7 years ago now. I remember being like the relative on that side, it being a very strange experience. And I turned into that relative, which I said I wouldn't be.
I had to try really hard not to be that patient.
Yeah.
Because not only was I on a ward I used to work at, I also knew a lot of the staff on there. Yeah. And also my office was a few feet from where I was sat. I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if Judith Duncan, our matron, didn't come across, give me a computer and ask me to work on some patient files.
Yeah.
Did they treat you any nicer or did they treat you meaner?
I hope, and I'd like to say that I was treated the same as any other patient that would come into the Manchester Royal Infirmary, as I'm sure would be the case. That's HRI too, isn't that right, Dani?
Of course. Mind you, my favourite saying for when I get told a patient is related to somebody, I'm like, I don't care. I was like, I don't care who they're related to. They're going to get treated the same from my point of view.
I do think that the nurses did treat me just the same as everybody else. If you want to know any more about it, get my book when it comes out on Amazon.
Yes.
We'll promote it on the Twitter feed.
I've recently been to a Doctor Who event, Novel Experiences, in Derby, hosted by the Hoovers, about Doctor Who novels. And I met a listener of ours, so a shout out to Alex Wilcock.
Hi.
Hello.
Yo, what's up, dude?
I've been to Hooverville. Well, actually, we used to go every year before the pandemic, me and our director, Kevin.
If you're going to be at Hooverville this year, September 2nd, 2023, look out for me. I'll be the person in the I Don't Do Sci-Fi t-shirt. You can come and tell us how good you think our podcast is.
Or even tell us how bad it is. I mean,
tell us how wrong we are.
Criticism, it's fine.
Hang on, it's me that's going to have to be there listening to
this
criticism. You won't be there.
No, I'll be at work probably. But
you won't be seen dead at a Doctor Who convention, would you?
I don't know. I do like Doctor Who.
So let's introduce the sci-fi we're going to be showing Dani. It's going to be a trilogy of movies starting with the 1982 Paramount Pictures film Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Directed by Nicholas Meyer, The Wrath of Khan was the second of the Star Trek films to be produced. Despite impressive production values, 1979's Star Trek The Motion Picture had received a lacklustre reception. Meyer was tasked with creating a cheaper to produce but at the same time a much more action-oriented Star Trek adventure which better fit 1980s audience expectations. The Wrath of Khan serves as a sequel to the 1967 episode Space Seed from Star Trek the original series, with the return of the genetically engineered tyrant Khan Noonien Singh, played by Ricardo Montalban. Khan escapes his exile on the barely habitable world of Ceti Alpha 5 and seeks revenge on Admiral James T. Kirk, played by William Shatner. The Wrath of Khan was a box office success and renewed interest in the Star Trek franchise. This success led to Star Trek III: The Search for Spock's release in 1984, directed by Leonard Nimoy, known for playing Spock in the franchise. After the death of Spock in The Wrath of Khan, Kirk and his crew learn that Spock's Katra, his living spirit, is held in Dr. Leonard McCoy. Kirk and his crew steal the decommissioned Enterprise and return to the Genesis planet to retrieve Spock's body and reunite it with his Katra. Although frequently regarded as one of the lesser movies by fans, critical reception was positive, with praise for the camaraderie amongst the characters. Leonard Nimoy was asked to return as director for the 1986 release of Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home. For this outing, Nimoy and producer Harve Bennett chose to develop a story with no clear-cut villain and with an environmental message underpinning it. Kirk and the Enterprise crew return to Earth to stand trial for their actions in the search for Spock. They arrive only to find the planet is in grave danger due to a vast and highly mysterious alien probe attempting to contact the now extinct humpback whale. Kirk and his crew travel back in time to the 1980s to retrieve 2 humpback whales in order to save humanity. Star Trek IV is held in almost universally high regard, showered with praise from audiences and critics alike. Its lighter, more humorous and more flamboyant tone becoming a continuing feature of future Star Trek films and television.
So with the introductions done, I'm going to take a slingshot around the sun and travel back in time a few days to listen to some moments from Dani and Rebecca watching the Star Trek movies. Let's hear how it went. Here we go.
So here I am with Dani. We're going to be watching 3 Star Trek films. First, I will be showing her Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. So Dani, what are your expectations for Star Trek II?
I want to say the Star Trek films that you're showing me
Yeah.
are from like the late 80s and 90s.
Mm.
Because I know certain characters 'cause I've always watched you guys watch it.
I was always watching Star Trek, so you've seen bits of it. Which characters do you know of?
I know of, I'll say Geordie first because he's the one that I always used to pretend to be when I was a kid.
Oh, it was the visor.
Yeah, because I used to put a headband over my eyes.
Yeah, so you know about Geordie. I'm impressed you actually know his name.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember his name. Then I know Picard, obviously.
We don't shut up about Star Trek Picard and getting excited about it.
Well, no,
Oh,
no,
Patrick
it's
Stewart.
Patrick Stewart because we're from Huddersfield. I think that's
Yeah,
more what
well-
I was going for.
When to Huddersfield Uni, you kind of know who Patrick Stewart is.
Yeah. I know there's Spock, and I know there's Data,
Data, yeah.
and I know there's some Klingon guy, but I don't know his name.
You're probably thinking of Worf.
There's a woman from later on, because I know there's the I can't remember her name. Nichols or no.
Michelle Nichols.
That's it. And obviously George Takei.
Uhura.
I know George Takei. I know about him. I know about Kate Mulgrew, but that's as a later thing.
Yeah,
not
you're a
growing
fan
up
of her.
because I'm a fan of her. And then you were like, oh, she's in Star Trek. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that.
Okay, so which characters are you expecting to see today?
Picard. Whoever else is with him in his journeys.
So the only Star Trek you've seen is, other than walking in on me, watching it and going, oh, that's nerd shit, you've only seen Star Trek Lower Decks because I made you watch it last year.
I fell in love with the show.
Yeah.
Because even though I know none of their Star Trek references, I still think it's funny.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, you full on know there are things that are going over your head. Does it stop my enjoyment? No.
So as you can see on the screen, because I've got it ready, Paramount made this. Star Trek II, it came out in 1982.
So I was right in the decade. Wrong part of the decade.
Yeah, so
Well,
earlier than you expected.
Yeah. Before you were born.
Yeah, it is. It's before I was born.
Okay.
Okay, so are we ready?
And now take it back. I think I'm going to see Kirk.
Do you?
Yeah.
Is that because of the year?
No, because of the music.
You were right. It's
Yeah.
good. After coming to terms with which Star Trek characters will and won't appear in the film, Dani settles down into the plot. Early on, she begins to notice the special effects work and comments frequently about them throughout the film.
Yes, Doctor.
Something you can transplant. That was good visuals. You know, for like the 80s.
Yeah.
Like, I know it'll be like a model with some backgroundy stuff, but that was...
Yeah, the space station.
Yeah, that was really...
Yeah.
You know.
You look good.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad you liked it.
It may only be a particle of pre-animate matter.
Not all aspects of the production are viewed favourably, though.
Was never a Boy Scout.
It screams 70s though, doesn't it? What does? Everything.
The fashion,
The fashion, the colours.
Mind you, Blake Seven a bit,
Yeah.
in that respect. The colours.
Yeah, it was just... Grab 70s.
We are introduced to the villain Khan, who demonstrates his genetically enhanced strength.
Why are you here?
I'm glad he held on to that.
Or Chekhov having a handy dandy handle for Khan to pick him up.
Yeah, I've been looking at those handles going, really?
Why is he there?
Alpha 5's only remaining.
Dani squirms her way through the earworm scenes, but soon recovers to compliment the equality of dress in Starfleet.
Something I do like.
Go on.
I like that the uniforms are unisex.
Yeah, unisex at this point.
Yeah, I do enjoy that. They're no different.
No. Carol and David Marcus argue over Starfleet's apparent hijacking of their project, but Dani's attention is drawn to a background character in a particularly bulging muscle shirt.
Who in the hell do they think they are?
Please be quiet.
He is swole.
Muscly scientist, isn't he?
I noticed him.
I've never noticed him before, but I'm just thinking, oh, what's with this muscle shirt? Like, whoa, look at his arms.
He's got a gun show going on, I'll say that much. Like,
funny.
look how little his sleeves are compared. Like, nah, mate, you can't get me in sleeves, they're too big. My arms will
Not
not
even
fit.
going to try and give him sleeves.
Yeah,
They're like
but-
little fins or
Yeah,
something.
like, it's just like little shoulder caps. It's just like, yeah, no, these are fitting in sleeves. Gonna have the bad boys on display.
Dani comments on two old men having inappropriate thoughts.
She changed her hairstyle?
Hadn't noticed. Whatever stuff that Romulan ale.
Admiral Kirk,
Kirk here.
I have an urgent contact from Space Lab Regular 1.
Right, so
Carol Marcus.
I know it's gonna be more because they fancy her, that's why they notice her hair, right?
I never
But-
thought that.
But, right, I'm impressed that two men noticed that a woman changed her hairstyle, so all I've got to say, I'm really bloody impressed. That's why I'm saying you can tell it's because they fancy her and know what she looks
I
like.
never picked up on that.
You naive woman.
I think because I watched this through 10-year-old eyes, I just never picked that stuff up.
Wow. Yeah.
Dani notices how Kirk frequently leaves the flap of his double-breasted uniform jacket open and ponders on what it is for.
Lock phasers on target and await my command.
Phasers low.
With this uniform open like that, I feel like it should be like in a steakhouse or something, and it's just a bib so that you can pick up all his, spills, and then you can go, "Nope, done," afterwards. Thing is, when you close it back up, no one will see the blood and it'll be fine.
It'll be okie dokie.
Yeah. Clever man. Keeping his uniform looking slick.
David and Kirk meet by punching each other, during which Dani deduces their relationship to one another.
Where's Dr. Marcus? I'm Dr. Marcus.
What's funny, Dan?
Well, I'm assuming he's
Mother.
her son.
Yes.
And I'm assuming they've had a relationship together, and the reason why his hair is that style is because
Oh,
he's Kirk's son.
could be. And now Dani sets about ruining Star Trek for me.
Behind.
Well, of course he didn't. David, you're just making this harder.
I'm afraid it's even harder than you think, Doctor.
That's what she said.
Please, don't move.
Dani!
I'm sorry. I'm not sorry.
You're ruining Star Trek. Stop it.
I'm making it more interesting for myself.
Never ever has that ever occurred to me. No, you come along and you just turn it serious situations into smut.
You're welcome.
Excellency, have you been listening?
Although unsuccessfully chastised, Dani nevertheless behaves herself for the rest of the movie. Notably, she sits through Spock's heroic death scenes impassively, raising no comment. Perhaps more impressively, she sits through Scotty's bagpiping without comment too. However, she does continue to amuse herself by poking fun at Kirk and David's awkward relationship.
And also that I'm very proud to be your son.
Well, it was awkward father-son hugs going.
Stardate 8141.6.
So let's see what Dani's initial thoughts were on the movie. So what did you think of Star Trek 2 then?
Okay.
Okay. Were there any characters you liked?
Swole guy.
Oh my god.
But to me, I quite enjoyed Kirk. I like Spock. McCoy's creepy, so not liking him. Scotty, I could hardly understand him half the time. That accent was fucking shite. Same with Chekhov. I mean, I could at least understand Chekhov. And not really much of Sulu.
No, they didn't really get to do much in this one.
No, they were very, sidelined. I liked Calm.
Do you think he was a good villain then?
I think he was a good villain. I appreciate where he's coming from. You know, yes, you've been exiled, but you've been told you're exiled to somewhere nice, and then 6 months later that happens.
And no one checks up on it.
Exactly, I don't give a shit. Also, I didn't mind watching Khan, because even though he's older, he was eye candy, so...
So Dan, how did it hold up or look to you as a film from 1982?
Look very 70s. But I know 82's not that far from, and,
No.
you know, they all meld over. The, model bits and,
the ships.
They were very well done for the 80s.
Yes.
I think they were really, really well done.
Yeah. So we're now ready to watch Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. Dani, what are your expectations?
That they will go and look for Spock.
Well, I guess the title's a bit of a clue.
Yeah.
Do you think you're going to enjoy it?
If it's anything like the last one, it'll be alright.
It'll be alright.
Yeah.
Right, Dan, so Star Trek 3, it came out 1st of June 1984.
You was 2 months old.
Yeah, so Star Trek 3's as old as me. I guess there's not really much to ask you. It's Star Trek. I'm just going to start playing it. The Search for Spock opens with a recap of events from the previous movie. Dani already begins to piece together how Spock is going to return.
Oh, it was that world, wasn't it?
Genesis.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember now, because he's going to breathe life into stuff, doesn't it? So
Yeah.
It's going to bring him back alive, isn't it? It'll be Spock 0.2.
Yeah. Spock 0.2?
Yeah, we're 0.2. No, not 2.0.
0.2. So what was it before?
0.1. He's an upgrade.
An upgrade.
Only a little one. Just does a patches update.
The names in the credits contain some surprises.
Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You like Christopher Lloyd?
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah. What are you doing it, Dan?
It's directed by Spock.
Yeah, directed by Leonard Nimoy. The Klingons make their appearance and Dani's interest immediately peps up.
That is huge. Also, I like that it looks like wings.
It's called a Klingon bird of prey. So a good design then. And she positively beams with delight at the sight of Captain Krug.
You know, you still can't hide this. Christopher Lloyd, can you?
No. Oh dear, I guess it was going to happen sooner or later. Dani starts to add her own theories on a possible romantic connection between Kirk and Spock.
We were separated. He couldn't touch me. Dancing.
Can't touch him.
Oh, Dan. Oh. What, slashing Spock and Kirk?
I could see it as a one-way relationship, like a unrequited love type thing.
Oh, which way?
Kirk loving Spock.
Oh, well, thing is, in the original series, the way Shatner looks at Spock, the way he touches him and holds him, embraces him, it's like how he does it with women.
Yeah, you see, this is the thing. He goes for all those women to hide his true feelings
For Spock.
Spock.
Oh. Dani pieces together more of the plot, and does so by finding more ways to spoil Star Trek for me.
Flight recorder visual 28.
Oh, God. Him. Yeah.
You'll find the whole compartment.
Who?
Him!
McCoy.
Yeah.
That was him.
That's why he was in his quarters being
Yeah.
weird.
So they're going to try and get the body and the spirit and go boom.
So they've got to get McCoy and Spock's body together. Oh, God. No. No.
Stop adding more slash into this.
I can't help it. It was like the very, very first slash pairing ever.
You read?
No, that was... It's where slash fic started. Star Trek, the original series in the 60s, women used to do it.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You know what I mean?
God, can I not say any fucking words right now without you being... Dani quickly awards points to George Takei as the best dressed man in Star Trek.
Don't get smart, Tiny.
George Takei's outfit is the bomb.
Is it?
Yeah.
You like George Takei's outfit?
Mm-hmm. Feel like he definitely had an influence in that costume.
Maybe. I don't know.
Looks great.
Spock's body has been regenerated by Genesis, and it reminds Dani of a character from one of her favourite shows, What We Do in the Shadows, in which energy vampire Colin Robinson passes away and a baby Colin Robinson emerges from his corpse, proceeding to rapidly age through to adulthood across a season.
The Genesis wave. His cells could have been regenerated.
Come in.
You got a question, Dan?
Not a question. It's Colin Robinson.
Oh! Yes, what we do in the shadows.
Yeah.
It's Colin Robinson being reborn. Yeah.
So they've stolen that from Star Trek.
Ooh.
Savick, go ahead.
The disbelief of the crew of the USS Grissom to the news of Spock's return greatly amuses Dani.
It is Dr. Marcus's opinion that the Genesis effect has in some way regenerated Captain Spock.
You what, bitch?
That's extraordinary. What would you like to do next?
Request permission to beam aboard immediately.
Kirk's son David is violently killed by the Klingons. Savick reports the unhappy news to Kirk in a way only Vulcans can.
Admiral, David is dead.
Sorry, I know like the logical and all that, not human, but I just love how it's like, David is dead.
Almost robotic.
No.
Other than cheering on pretty much anything Christopher Lloyd's character Captain Krug says, Dani watches the rest of the film without trying to spoil any more of it for me. At the ceremony on Mount Seleia to reunite Spock's mind and body, Dani develops a case of pareidolia.
Oh god, I can't unsee it.
What?
You know, in the robes, it looked like the Scream mask.
Oh god, I saw it!
Do you see what I mean?
Oh, yes!
Like that one
Yes.
really so much. It's almost like he's going,
Oh my god, it's a screen face!
Yeah.
On the
Yeah.
left, there!
Yeah.
Oh. It's the end of the movie, but Dani gets one last chance to embellish a romantic subtext.
Your name is Jim.
Yes.
Oh, that was proper little love puppy smile
from Kirk there.
Yeah. Look.
Yep.
I think everyone wants to find someone in their life who will look at them like how Kirk looked at Spock then.
Yes. Kirk always saves that look for Spock. So let's see what she made of Star Trek 3. Okay, so we just finished Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. What did you think, Dan?
It was okay.
It was okay.
Yeah, I liked it better than Star Trek 2. I liked Khan, but I liked all of the ensemble a bit more.
In this?
One. Yeah.
You got more action from Sulu, Chekhov, and Uhura, and Scotty as well.
Yeah.
Because they didn't really do much character-wise.
I felt like the last one was a bit like, it was the Kirk film, and I got bored of the Kirk film, but this one had a bit more. It still was, Kirk was trying to make it a Kirk film. But yeah, I like this one better.
Does it help that you're more familiar with the characters now?
Probably, because before they were just actors I knew and maybe names. And I think there was more character development in this one for the characters, like, for somebody who hasn't watched anything.
Yeah.
I got to know a bit more about the actual characters. Like, Zulu, and he was like, oh, don't call me Tiny, kind of thing. And Uhura?
Yeah, Uhura.
Yeah, like how she was like, she's badass.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It was nice to see that, because before it was just a bit like, she was just
there.
Yeah, she was just like, oh, we'll throw a female character in. I'm intrigued what 4 will be like, say, because you called it a mini trilogy. Because I get 2 and 3, they make sense. They're definitely a little double on.
Yeah, because it's obviously it's tied together. Yeah, so it's called Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home, and that came out in 1986, so 2 years later. Given it's called The Voyage Home, what do you think Star Trek IV is going to be about?
They're going home.
Where's home?
That jellyfish star pod thing.
Space dock.
Yeah. Because that's what Jim said. He kept saying, we're home.
So you think the whole film's going to be about them going to the space dock, trying to get back home?
Yeah, because, they've been naughty. I think it's going to be reprimanded.
Well, that guy did say, Kirk, you'll never sit in the captain's chair again.
They don't have a ship.
Yeah, blew up the Enterprise, so they don't even have the ship.
Are they in the Klingon?
Yeah, they arrived on Vulcan in a Klingon bird of prey. So, let's get stuck in. Spock is retraining his mind with a trivia quiz. Dani decides to help him with the questions.
How do you feel? How do you feel?
I do not understand the question.
You'd think his logical brain would go, well, you feel with nerves in your body, it'll send neurons to your brain. That kind of thing.
Yeah. He just explained literally how the sense of touch works. Dani starts asking awkward questions about Vulcan reproduction.
Where must you go?
I must go to Earth.
Question.
Testimony.
If his mum's human and his dad's Vulcan,
Yep.
and Vulcans don't have emotions, she's obviously fallen in love with him, but surely he must have some form of emotion to have decided to get with a human woman.
Well, Vulcans do have emotions, they just suppress them.
So is his dad a bit more open to actually feeling them?
One drawn out conversation about Vulcan birds and bees later, we get back to the crew journeying to Earth, still unaware that a mysterious probe is draining the planet of energy. Dani already shows signs of enjoying the dialogue in Star Trek IV.
It's me, McCoy. You really have gone where no man's gone before. Can't you tell me what it felt like?
It would be impossible to discuss the subject without a common frame of reference.
You mean I have to die to discuss your insights on death?
Forgive me, Doctor. I'm receiving a number of distress calls.
I don't doubt it.
Can I just comment on his outfit looking very much like he should be somebody coming to you in a spa?
Spock?
Yeah. He feels very dressing gown-esque as well.
He's going to massage you or something?
Yeah.
Kirk informs the besieged Starfleet command of his plan to answer the probe, but his signals struggle to reach them.
We're going to attempt time travel. We are computing our trajectory. At this time.
Get it back! Get it back!
I quite like the way in which that was distorted.
Yeah.
Because that was distorted like old-fashioned VHS tapes, but had pixelation as well, which we see nowadays, which is quite cool. And then even like the weird, like as if like end of a reel of a camera reel at the very end. I loved how it incorporated like technology that didn't exist yet for them, which do exist now. And old, I just like how it was all like combined. I liked that.
The bird of prey begins its slingshot around the sun to travel in time. I grow worried for a moment as Dani appears to be having convulsions. Oh, you're shaking! Okay, Dani's doing an impression of them all shaking on the bird of prey. It's almost like you're turning into a Trekkie, Dan. That's what Trekkies do when they visit Star Trek sets. They fake the ship shaking. I know me and John have done it.
I have not turned into a Trekkie. You can fuck off on that one.
Spock chooses to disguise his extraterrestrial nature from 20th century humans by tying a headband over his pointed ears.
I'll pretend I'm a ninja. What? Yeah, you're gonna pretend you're a ninja.
This is an extremely primitive and paranoid culture.
Sorry, I'm doing more ship slashing here, right? So, did you see Kirk's little, cute little smile he had when he
Yes.
It was almost like, oh, I'm so proud of you, aren't you so cute? Oh, now I've got to get on with what I'm talking about.
And McCoy's just shaking his head.
Yeah.
The crew adjust themselves to 1980s streets life, much to Dani's amusement.
They've definitely got more money by this film.
What were you talking, dumbass? Double dumbass on you!
What, Dad?
Double dumbass on you. Oh, I fucking love that. Is this before or after Dustin Hoffman's role he does where he goes, I'm walking here kind of thing?
After, isn't it? Midnight Cowboy.
So I wondered if it was a homage to that a little bit.
Double dumbass on you.
Double dumbass on you.
And Chekhov and Uhura's attempts to locate the naval base in Alameda breaks Dani.
Can you direct me to the naval base in Alameda? It's where they keep the nuclear vessels. Nuclear vessels. Oh, excuse me. We are looking for nuclear vessels. Can you tell me where the naval base in Alameda? We're looking for nuclear. Hello. We are looking for
And this sets a pattern of behaviour for many moments of the film going forward, like the encounter with the punk on the bus. Or Spock's years at Berkeley.
Speech movement at Berkeley. I think you did a little too much LDS.
LDS?
And Scotty's attempt to use a 20th century computer.
Computer? Just use the keyboard.
Dani finds herself in strong agreement with Kirk's assessment of 20th century language.
You used to call me Jim. Don't you remember Jim? What's your question?
Our use of language is older since our arrival. It is currently laced with, shall I say, more colorful metaphors.
Yeah, that's simply the way they talk here. Nobody pays any attention to you unless you swear every other word.
Yes.
You'll find it in all the literature of the period.
For example,
Chekhov mans his post whilst still in his operating gown. Dani wonders if the gown has been tied up correctly at the back.
105. We're a scan for whales.
I'm intrigued that Chekhov is now wearing the surgeon's gown.
Well, I think McCoy threw it round him to...
Through his back, yeah, but that's not how you put them on at the front. That's because notoriously hospital gowns show off your backside.
Yes.
Technically, they don't if you tie them correctly. People don't tie them correctly, that's why they show off your backside.
How's Nevis still then?
Kirk and Dr. Gillian Taylor, or the Whale Woman, as we've been referring to her, part ways. Do you think they'll keep in touch?
Like they say in your century, I don't even have your telephone number. How will I find you?
Don't worry, I'll find you. Never to be seen again.
You are correct.
See you around the galaxy.
Maybe she's in a book. Several, apparently. And a comic.
She fancied him, but she loves the whales more.
Yeah, she does.
Father.
Plus, she knows who's Kirk's true love.
Exactly. It's Spock.
It's Spock. That's it.
She's seen how he looks at him.
Is that why
Carol?
Is that the real reason Carol Marcus left him? She's just like, I can't come between Kirk and Spock.
Yeah, 100%.
Yowler, I would like to take my leave of you.
And finally, we reach the end of the Star Trek trilogy. So what did Dani make of this instalment? Okay, Dan, so thoughts on Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home?
I think this was the best one of the three.
Really?
Yeah.
You enjoyed this one?
I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed this one. I think it's well done. I think you can tell it's... So, 2 felt like it was a TV movie. This feels very film-esque. 3 I like, though. I did like 3.
So, Dan, what do you think the film's message is?
That mankind are bastards. And that we're fucking over the Earth.
Yeah.
Oh, look, guess what? We still are!
Yeah, we don't seem to have learned the message.
No.
So, Dan, you seem to engage with the humour a lot more in this one. So, do you think Star Trek works well with humour? Do you think it benefits from humour and having fun?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I suppose technically speaking, the only Trek I've properly watched on my own is Lower Decks,
which is comedy.
The only other space like opera type thing I've ever watched where I've actually seen it through was Red Dwarf. So again, comedy. Let's be honest, I just like comedy. but yeah, I think it helps. I think it makes the characters more believable.
Yeah.
And I think more engaging, because they're still on a mission. They're all still being professional. They've still got, their jobs to do, and they're still doing it. But it's life. You're gonna have a laugh and a joke with your colleagues.
Yeah.
I think this film. I nearly said episode then. This film, I've fallen in love with McCoy as a character.
Yes.
Because of his sarcasm.
Yes.
He's just a sarcastic little twat, and I love it. I just love it. Because as well, I feel like I just, when you're just like watching something and you're thinking to yourself, I know this is a spaceship, but I can also relate this to like work, and I just kept thinking, I'm McCoy. Like, I'm the one who just says those kind of things at work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Dan, so while we were watching the Star Trek films, I noticed you seemed to get more into Star Trek as we went along. You were certainly laughing and enjoying 3 and 4 and engaging more with the characters.
Yeah. Because I kind of got to know who they were now. They weren't just like these names and... Yeah, so like I knew Spock was a Vulcan. I knew Kirk was Shatner. I knew George Takei was in it, and I knew he was Sulu. Yeah. And I knew... Is it Uhura? Yeah. I knew those kind of things, but there was no, like, personality that I knew with them.
I'm so sad we didn't record this, but I asked you what you knew, and you said to me, so who's that guy? I know it's not actually said in the show, Beam Me Up Scotty, but who is this guy? And I said, Scotty, and you're like, yeah, but who's the guy? And I'm like, Scotty. And he's like, but what's his name?
Yeah.
That's it. Montgomery Scott. Nickname Scotty.
Yeah.
But you didn't get it.
I wanted his full name.
Montgomery Scott.
Thank you. You weren't understanding that I wanted his full name, not just his nickname, part of his name. That's what I was meaning.
Because at the end of Star Trek 2, remember you said your main criticism was that you didn't get to know who Sulu, Scotty and Chekhov didn't. They didn't really do much.
No, they didn't. They were very just...
There,
yeah.
Yeah, whereas in 3 and 4 you did say you liked that they were getting more to do.
I did really enjoy that they got more to do. And I liked that you got a bit more of the personalities, but 4 sealed it for me. Just
and
some
you
of
like,
those scenes.
And you changed your mind massively on McCoy, because at first you're like, oh, he's a creep, he's weird, I don't like him. I love McCoy, he's such a bitch.
Yeah, I do.
He's such a sassy bitch.
He's so sarcastic and so dry.
McCoy is the best character in 4.
Yes.
The bit with the woman with a kidney. You do a couple of tablets
yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
it. Or like when he's in the lift and he's talking about them being like savages and doing a Spanish Inquisition.
Which film was it where Spock was saying, Jim, be careful, and McCoy's like, don't worry, we will.
Yeah. I know this is not the ones that you showed me, but it's just because you made me watch another one.
Star Trek 5.
Well,
The
you asked me
Final
to watch
Frontier.
2. You asked me to watch the first one and the 5th one, but I never got round to the first one.
You're not missing much.
I just watched the 5th one.
Don't, John. Motion picture's a good film.
Motion picture's awesome.
But
anyway.
what I'm going to say is it's a bit where it's that bit at the beginning when Kirk's climbing that cliff and McCoy's just having a heart attack essentially because he's so worried about
he's just
him.
like...
Yeah, I just love it. But anyway, we're not talking about 5 really, not that much, because we didn't do that in the reactions.
So, Dani, how much did you know about Star Trek as a whole before?
I'd see Rebecca, Dad.
Yeah.
Very vague memory of Uncle Andrew watching Star Trek when I was little, and I'd see you watching it, and I'd walk past, and I know me and Rebecca and our mutual friend Chris one day went through the people I knew.
Yes. And I was quite impressed by who you did know.
Yeah, like what characters I knew. Didn't necessarily know them by names. Maybe described them in bizarre ways. It took Rebecca and Chris a long time to figure out who I was talking about.
Yeah.
But I didn't really know of Star Trek. But Rebecca showed me an episode of Lower Decks at one point.
Buffer Time episode.
And I loved it. And then I decided to watch the entirety of Lower Decks. So
Lower Decks is really
that's the
good.
only Star Trek thing I will watch on my own.
Yeah, when I was loading up the Buffer Time episode, Dan was just like, oh, no. And I said, it's 20 minutes, just give it a chance. And she's like, fine. And by the end of it, she says, can we watch more? And we binged the whole of season 1 that day.
Yeah.
Lower Decks is a good way to introduce people to Star Trek.
I agree.
Because it's accessible.
I know when I watch Lower Decks, because I think Rebecca's mentioned it to me before, I understand there are jokes that I am missing. I appreciate that. I can tell there are references to whatever series it's trying to do. I'm not going to lie, I'm not sitting there going, oh, I get that. But it doesn't take away from my enjoyment of it. I don't have to know those references to still think, actually, it's a really good show and it's well written.
Before we start the reactions, I asked you which Trek you thought we were going to be watching. I asked you who do you think is going to be in these films, and you thought it was going to be Picard and Worf and Riker and Geordi, basically the TNG characters. And once the music started and you realised, oh no, it's going to be Kirk, how did you feel? Did you feel any disappointment that you weren't going to see Picard? Or were you not bothered?
I was a little bit disappointed. Because like I said, I've not really seen it, but I'd say what I saw the most of was The Next Generation.
It was Dad's favourite.
That's what I've seen the most of.
And Picard's really sexy.
Totally, but it's more because he's a Murfield, Huddersfield lad.
Well, yeah. Local lad.
To be honest, I thought it was going to be more 90s, a bit more modern. But then they came up and I was like, oh no, the few bits I've seen with like Kirk and stuff, oh, it's going to be 60s shit. Like, that is what I thought for a minute or 10. And then it transpired it wasn't. I've enjoyed it.
So which characters did you like across these 3 films?
Depending on the film. I didn't like McCoy in the first film. I'll say that. But like by the second film, it was starting to grow me on the third time. I'm saying first, second, and third.
Yes. We know what you mean.
Yeah, we know what you mean.
By the time it was the third one that I watched, I really did like McCoy. I really liked Sulu, but I just like him. Yeah, but I liked him because I'm a normie. I'm going to call myself a normie here. And I watch I'm a Celebrity. Have done from the very birth of the show to the very end, I will. And he was in that. He was on that.
Really?
Yeah.
He won, didn't he?
I don't think
or did he come second?
Didn't. No, he came high up, but he didn't win. But I really enjoyed him on that. I felt like definitely in the fourth film, you got a lot of his personality coming through, and his outfit was just gorgeous. But I really loved that outfit.
Yeah, so did I when I watched it when I was a kid. Tried to copy it myself.
Yeah, honestly though, it is. It was just modern, and it's still modern now in 2023. Like, I'm looking at that going, that is a nice.
Well, no, I got bullied a lot because of it in the mid 90s.
I've met 3 of the original cast: George Takei, William Shatner, and Walter Koenig. And out of the 3, George Takei was the friendliest. It was only like a minute for a photograph at the convention, but Takei shook my hand, said hi, how are you? And I got him to pose a funny photo with my Tribble.
I think he's a decent bloke, and I think that comes through.
Any other characters?
I liked the little, I say love triangle, but the little love affair of Kirk and Spock, which I still say is unrequited love. I really do.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I love that you brought this up completely unprompted by me.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, Spock loves him.
Do you know about the Kirk Spock / fiction?
I kind of vaguely knew about it. I always assumed it was very like mutually kind of whenever people do the /, but to me watching it, it's definitely Spock loves Kirk.
Well, you were saying you thought you got a sense that Kirk really liked because he kept doing the little smiles and things.
He did, yeah, but he was very much
Spock will do anything for Kirk.
Yeah,
and vice versa.
Yes,
yeah,
as we see in Star Trek 3.
Well, he risks his whole career for Spock.
Yeah, they've got a good friendship, and especially like I know with I don't mention it, but like in 5, you see like when they're camping, it's interesting to see how they all kind of had their own like shore leave and how they decided to group up differently.
Yeah, that was always the thing from the very beginning of Star Trek, is that you had Captain Kirk would be the balance, McCoy would be the emotion, and Spock would be the logic. And so with that friendship of those 3, it was the core of the series.
A triumvirate,
yes. And they completely ruined it in the reboot movies.
Yeah, they just focus on Kirk and Spock as a pair.
Kirk and Spock and Kirk and Uhura.
Yeah.
Which, if you watch the TV series, comes out of complete nowhere.
I'm going to say, even from the films, they seem to have more of a sister-brother friendship. Mutual respect for each other is what I'd say.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's taken anywhere else. I think what I like about it is the fact that Uhura isn't seen as a romantic interest for any of them. And I think that's really nice to see, especially in the time period it is. You know, she's a strong, independent woman. They all respect her.
As Whoopi Goldberg said when she first saw Nichelle Nichols on the screen, there's a woman like me on TV and she ain't no maid.
Yeah.
She screamed the house down, shouted for the whole household to run down to see, going, look at this, look at this.
And they kept that going in the films. Apart from a little bit of Star Trek 5, which
do you know what? Yes, I know what you're saying, right? That.
Yeah.
But I loved that bit. As a strong woman, I loved that bit because why can't she do that for herself? She said she enjoyed doing it. Just because you're a strong woman doesn't mean that you don't want to show off a bit of your skin. If you've got your body, you flaunt it.
I just did that as a joke, to be
I
honest.
think
But
it's
I
a
love
bit
it.
of a misogynistic thing where some guy's like, oh, she's too old now.
But she wasn't.
And very empowering of her because she pulls out a phaser on them.
Well, that's it, yeah.
You loved it when she pulled out the phaser in 3 on that rookie who was moaning,
Yeah.
saying, oh, it's so boring, I want some excitement.
Yeah, I
She's
love
like,
that bit. She was like, well, here's some excitement then.
Yeah, get in
I'll
the
take
closet.
care of Mr. Adventure for you. Yeah.
Isn't that his credit?
Mr. Adventure.
Yeah. In the whole of the trilogy. And I do call this the Star Trek trilogy.
They made it that way, didn't they?
Yeah.
They planned at least a third one while they were making Wrath of Khan.
Each character of the ensemble gets to shine. Of course, Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, as always, gets to shine more than everybody else. But Sulu taking on the prison guard. Don't call me tiny.
Yes.
What about Scotty basically nobbling the Excelsior?
Yeah.
Stopping them from chasing? That is total ponage, that.
A small bit is just when Scotty's leaving and he goes in the lift and he just says to the lift, up your shaft.
Is there any other crew members you want to talk about?
Chekhov. I love Chekhov.
Yeah?
So I love him in the fourth one, mainly in that bit when he's asking where the military base
Oh,
is.
you would
The
die.
nu- the nuclear vessels.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
died
he's like
during
asking
that
for that as a Russian in America in the 80s. Well, even now, asking for like where the nuclear place
Nuclear
was.
vessels.
And it was so great, but wherever it was, like at Anaheim.
Alameda.
Yeah.
Alameda, that was it.
Alameda.
Then just a random woman was just like,
You know,
it's at Alameda.
She
Yeah,
really was
I
a member
know,
of public.
I know.
She was just walking by and they were talking to real members of
Well,
public. And she started talking to them and said, okay, do you mind being in the film? The cop was an actor.
Oh,
Yeah.
the cop sold it. didn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I also liked him, and again, I know this is going to 5, which we didn't put in the recording, but I enjoyed when he pretends to be the captain, because I was like, yeah, you got check off.
I enjoyed it when him and Sulu were lost in the woods and they were like, there's a blizzard.
And he was going, and then she's like, it's sunny and 70 degrees, and it's like, oh, the sun's come out.
We're saved.
Did you like it in Star Trek 2 when Chekhov was first officer, when he was like possessed, or brainwashed, I should say, really, by Khan?
You were looking at his blinking, I remember.
Yeah.
She was asking about it, said, oh, he's blinking
How was his
what?
possessed acting?
They
Yeah.
put things in our ears. I didn't like that as a child.
It still makes me cringe because I don't like his ears. I don't like things. And as we were talking, I don't like.
She's covering
things
her
in my
ears right now. She's not happy.
Oh, I just don't like it. I don't like thinking about it.
That put me off of Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
That's why Wrath of Khan has always been my least favourite.
My
Of-
reaction as a 10-year-old was, oh my god, this is so cool. And talking about Wrath of Khan, were there any characters in that stood out to you besides the main crew?
So, there's Kirk's son. I knew it was Kirk's son when he first came on screen.
Yeah, you did. You're like,
Didn't
oh, it's
need
because
to-
of his hair.
Yeah, didn't need to know anything. But let's be honest. Mr. Muscles in the background.
Oh, swole guy.
Yeah, he was so swole. Like
A random scientist.
Yeah, some random scientist, Carl. You might not remember this bit in the scene, right? And you
I,
probably won't
I
notice
don't.
it.
I don't like
don't.
men with too many muscles.
Yeah, but the point is, they were all scientists, and they've all got sleeves, varying sizing of sleeves, right? from being like normal short sleeved all the way down
Down
to,
to the
like
cuff,
half and
to
three
the
quarter
wrist.
and full on. But there's one guy, nah. His arms were too swole, and he had to have these little like capped sleeves, and it was just like I could not stop looking at him in the background.
Once we noticed it, that was it.
I just couldn't stop, honestly.
Just marvelling at
it
this
was just
guy.
like every time the scene came on, I was just like,
you have to
swole guy.
keep cleaning the drool off her face.
It was it's not even that because I'm not even into men like that.
No,
It's
we're
not
just-
my thing. It's just the fact that they were just you couldn't not see once you'd seen them, you couldn't not see them. And like when they all like, oh, when he died, like he was one of the ones on the floor, and it was just like, oh, I can see him. I can see his muscles.
So what about Khan's lovely chest muscles?
like Khan, I actually must admit. I actually think Khan is quite an attractive looking man. He's got a charisma about him. I very much had this same feel that he had some like Native American heritage by looking at him, and that is just my assumptions, and that's a bad assumption that I'm probably making, but it's what I got from him.
I think he's Mexican.
Well, the character's supposed to be Indian, as in the Indian subcontinent.
Yeah.
Hence the name Khan.
Yeah.
A lot more sensitive than using a white British actor.
We're looking at you reboot movies, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure Dan knows who that is.
Yeah, that's fine.
No, let's save that for another podcast.
Yeah.
You know how Khan is, or you probably inferred, that Khan is regarded as the greatest Star Trek villain for the original crew because he's the only one they brought back from the series. And yet he's only in one episode and one film, and he has such a presence, Ricardo Montalban. And did you even realise that he and Kirk never even meet in person? They spend the entire film only talking to each other over a video screen.
They filmed their scenes 4 months apart from each other.
They didn't even meet
Yeah,
on, they didn't meet
Ricardo
on set.
Montalban wasn't totally
crazy.
happy about that because he was
crazy.
having to read his lines out to a script girl. And he says it's not quite the same as Shatner.
The practicalities of filmmaking is that the Bridge of Reliant and Bridge of Enterprise are the same set, redressed.
But they could have had Bell Shatner in the studio reading the
but
lines.
they've got to pay him extra then to turn up.
I can see his point of view.
Of
you
course.
want an actor to read the lines
Of course.
the way the actor
Some
would.
actors
You
need
know,
it.
because
Ricardo Montalban took less money than he was offered.
Really?
Because he
really
saw
wanted it.
this part as a highlight of his career. He really wanted to do it that much, and he's like, "No, I'll take less."
I always like when actors take less money. I always think they're better for doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Just do. It's probably because of my love of Keanu Reeves, because he always does it. But
No, we're not going into Keanu Reeves. Did you infer that then from watching the film that Khan is considered the greatest villain?
Or from what Rebecca said when you were watching it, because I haven't heard that yet.
Well, it's you who said it, John.
I know it was me, but I just wonder if, from what we've said already, if you picked up on that.
Did that occur to you at all?
No.
No.
I mean, I thought it was a big, villain, but I just assumed he was just a big movie villain until they did tell me that he'd been in an episode. He did say that bit, that he was a character in the show. And I was like, oh, that's cool. They brought him back. That's really cool. But it wasn't, I didn't think of him as the greatest.
It was
a villain.
Harvey Bennett, the executive producer of this film. He was brought in to save money because the motion picture made a big loss on a big budget. And so they brought in a TV guy who had a success with a $6 million Man and a Bionic Woman. And he sat down, unfamiliar with Star Trek. He watched all 79 episodes of Star Trek. And then he got the idea from seeing Space Seed, let's bring Khan back.
That's interesting. That also kind of goes to a question that I do have.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know you didn't make me watch one. You did ask me to watch one as homework, and I never got round to it.
But we never showed you the motion picture.
Yeah.
And you
but,
asked.
Yeah. I know in fandom, one is classed as... For fandom, is classed as shit. So my question really is, if it was so shit, why did they make a second film?
From what I've been reading, it was Star Trek 2 that reignited interest in the franchise.
Yeah, the reason they made the second film is because of Star Wars. Now, I know a lot of people's that motion picture got made because of Star Wars. It was made as a film because of Star Wars.
Yes, it was going to be a TV series pilot before.
And the actual film was made from Gene Roddenberry's point of view because of 2001: A Space Odyssey. And it has a lot more in line with that than it does with
it's
everything else. Star Trek.
Cerebral sci-fi.
Yeah, so they have made Star Trek 2. They still wanted some of that Star Wars money because the Empire Strikes Back had come out.
Yeah.
And they wanted all
Not
that
the
Star Wars
merchandise money.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
Here's Fox making billions, here's George Lucas making millions off the merchandise. And so they wanted more of an action sci-fi than a cerebral sci-fi. And that's what they got.
And it had to be...
Which annoyed Gene Roddenberry.
And it had to cost less money than the motion picture.
Yes.
Hence bringing in the TV guy who could do stuff under budget.
I just love Danny's grossed out face when John said cerebral Star Trek.
Oh dear.
That just made me go, oh God, thank God you did not make me watch that.
That's
thank
the
God I
follow-up.
chose not to watch it.
I said choose 5.
You
I
know,
know.
it's,
I thought you'd like.
I know. I said
thought you'd like it.
I thought I had time to watch 1 and 5, okay? And then I'll be honest, it was yesterday, and I had a day off, and I went, oh shit, I need to watch 5, at least 5.
Some fans call it the motionless picture or the slow motion picture.
Yeah, they're weirdos who
Yeah,
have
we
no
don't
taste.
talk to them.
Yeah, we don't.
I
we
don't
don't
know
talk to
who'd say
people
that.
like that.
Me. As someone who
Kevin's got
likes...
his hand up.
As someone who likes the motion picture and, okay, I am sat here in a Star Wars t-shirt. Star Wars is my greater fandom. I still love the motion picture. It is wonderful. And it is a nice palate cleanser after watching all these action science fiction from Star Wars. And the special effects in that, you like practical effects. These practical effects are beautiful.
The motion picture is the one that got me into Star Trek.
And how old were you, Rebecca?
10. And I thought, this is amazing.
And you discovered it on your own?
Well, actually, I was really into Star Wars, and my dad said Star Trek's better, and I'm like, what's that? And he's like, oh, I've got these videos I'm borrowing from our Uncle Andrew, and I'm like, okay. I went off and watched Star Trek the motion picture, and by the time we got to the wormhole scene, I was like, this is for me. This is amazing. I love this. The whole Vija stuff blew my mind.
We haven't mentioned Lieutenant Savick yet. She's in all 3 films to lesser or greater degrees. What did you make of bringing in this new character? Mind you, I guess they're all new to you, weren't they?
Yeah, they're all new characters to me. I didn't like her in 2. I didn't like the character at all. I understand why, because I don't like Vulcans. I'm, an emotional person. I like to talk about emotions. I like to have people with emotions. She did not have it. But by 3 and 4, with it being a different actress, because I am aware of that. I have eyes, John.
You're not that much of a Vulcanist, then.
No. She was better. I think Robin Curtis is a lot better, portrayed her better, and she became more of a likeable character, even without the emotion.
Yeah.
It wasn't even that, because she did show emotion, because she showed emotion in 3, was it? She was showing that, like, their customs and cultures, and she could see, like, she was empathetic, and I enjoyed that.
What do you glean from the relationship Savick had with Spock?
I know.
Both versions as well.
Just across the trilogy.
Yeah.
I was going to say, just from that bit, very non-consensual, but...
He's going to die if he doesn't have sex. That's what happens with Pon farr.
Yeah, a bit weird.
In fact, they cut it, but she was meant to be pregnant with his child.
That's why she stayed behind in 4.
Yeah, you did tell me that in the recording.
Which, given Spock is her teacher and mentor, it's...
It is implied that they had that relationship in Star Trek 2.
This is obviously a non-fan. Had there been many Vulcans shown other than Spock up at this point?
Well, in the original series, you did see Sarek, Spock's dad.
Yeah, his dad.
And they did actually visit Vulcan, so they did meet other Vulcans.
His girlfriend that he was betrothed to.
Because you were asking when we were watching about Vulcans and how they actually get married and stuff because of the love. They have arranged marriages.
Yeah, because obviously, like, Spock's dad's, like, a hippie Vulcan.
Yeah, we explained that.
Because he obviously decided to marry a human. He actually...
2 humans.
2 humans, yeah.
Because he loved them, so was using more of his emotions in that regard.
Yeah.
So hippie dad, but I was like, how do they normally but then you said arranged marriages and stuff.
They're arranged.
Yeah.
From childhood.
It was Leonard Nimoy who came up with the "Live Long and Prosper" hand gesture.
Cool. I can only do that on one hand.
I could do it both.
I can only do it with one.
I can just do it with my left really painfully, not quite straight, but I can do it with my right really easily.
For those listening at home, everybody in this panel is now doing the Vulcan salute.
With both hands.
Apart from me, I can only do it with my right.
It comes from a Jewish sign.
Yeah, you're in good company, Dani, because William Shatner can't do it either. Yeah. Are you a fan of Christopher Lloyd?
Is she a fan?
I'm a fan of Christopher Lloyd.
We are fans of Christopher Lloyd.
I saw him and I was so happy.
Back to the Future?
Yeah, Back to the Future.
Roger
Taxi,
Rabbit.
then.
I don't like Taxi.
So you enjoyed seeing him as a
Yes.
Klingon?
Oh, yeah.
I was excited to see him. I also liked that his outfit gave me very ancient Egyptian vibes.
Oh, yeah, you
I
said,
got
yeah.
like a lot of...
Yeah, you also point out that the bird of prey is a bit of a Egyptian almost aesthetic.
It's very Egyptian-y to me.
Just on that subject, it's interesting to note that they went back in time on a vessel stolen from Christopher Lloyd.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
I don't think they went back to 1985, but in my headcanon, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did,
I like that headcanon. I just want to say one other thing there, because I also liked the Klingon spy as well, the I like to say Valkyrie, because I liked her Medusa hair vibes that she had going on. So I like the fact that they took a lot of inspiration from like the ancient civilizations for this film, because there was a lot of like those kind of putting in, and I mean saying Valkyries as well, just as another thing, that's taking the ancient Norse, you know.
Yeah.
I like that they kind of took all these mythologies and made them current again.
What did you think of Christopher Lloyd as the villain?
It's Christopher Lloyd, so he banged it out of the park, didn't he? Like,
This planet is tearing apart. Exhilarating, isn't it?
Yeah, I just
no
love
one
him.
can do a voice like Christopher
No,
Lloyd.
they can't.
No, you even said, even under all that makeup, it's Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah.
He really wanted that part. I don't
can
think the
tell.
studio wanted him,
No.
but it's like, no, I'm Christopher Lloyd.
I feel like both him and going just quickly back to the person who played Khan, you can tell that they both really wanted it. And I don't know if it's that trope that nice people love playing like baddies and villains and stuff, because it's not what they're normally like, and they really get fun out of acting them. I don't know if that's part of why
Everybody loves playing a villain.
That's it. So I just think they come across really good.
So we'll move on to Star Trek 4. So what did you think of Dr. Gillian Taylor, the marine biologist?
I liked her in parts, and in parts she just seemed a bit one-dimensional.
And I think a bit of the problem with the casting was that the character was originally written for Eddie Murphy to be in the role.
Yeah, he turned it down because he wanted to be an alien, didn't he?
Yes.
Do you know, it's not even that, like, I couldn't even say it was that was the problem. The character still felt like it was a woman. You know what I mean? I didn't feel like that, and I didn't feel like that was a problem. I know, but I'm just saying I didn't feel like that was a problem.
It wasn't fleshed out a lot.
She was flawed, but not flawed in a way that was believable.
Are you saying Star Trek had a Mary Sue?
But I wouldn't call her Mary Sue either.
I won't.
I don't know, I can't articulate it, but there is just something.
What about Sarek?
I love Sarek. I will admit, I absolutely adore hippie Vulcan.
Mark Leonard is
I like
good.
the actor though.
He's good.
I really enjoy watching
Mark
him
Leonard's
act.
brilliant.
He's good.
I feel like he lends a gravitas almost to
Yeah.
Star Trek. Whenever he's in it, anytime.
Apart from Ricardo Montalban, he is probably one of only 3 actors to return to play a character from the Star Trek TV series, apart from the main characters, of course. So it just shows how good an actor he was.
I like him. Like you say, yeah, there's that gravitas about him. There's got
I've never heard him described as hippie Vulcan before.
Oh, he's totally hippie Vulcan though.
I'm taking that and seeing if I can just take it everywhere in fandom. Thank you for that, Dani.
Well, it's because of the way Sarek. I mean, most Vulcans are not in tune with the spiritual stuff. Mind melding is not common among the Vulcans. Spock and Sarek are quite rare.
Well, I thought it became common by
was a
their
lot
time.
It was more common by the 24th century.
It was still considered niche because in Star Trek 3, that's why everyone were like, sorry, Kirk, what are you on about? If it was a big deal, Vulcan would have gone smack down on Starfleet going, oi, what are you doing? Respect our culture. But no, it was still such a fringe thing at the time.
At the end of Star Trek 3.
Yes.
Was that T'Pau?
No, it was T'Lar.
And she was played by a dame with a very, excuse the pun, high acting pedigree.
Right, T'Lar.
But even she asked Sarek and McCoy, are you sure you guys want to do this? Because
it's dangerous.
It might not work. Because even then, she was like, yeah, no one does this.
It's hippie shit.
Yeah,
and I
plus
love it.
Sarek, not only that, aside from the religious stuff, Sarek also, he treats his kids as experiments. He's got a fully Vulcan who becomes emotional, a half Vulcan, half human, and then an adopted human child he brings up as Vulcan.
I mean, even in 5, when don't know his son's name,
Cyborg.
That's it. But when he turned up, I was just like, another emotional Vulcan. I was like, are you related to Spock's family by any chance? And then it was like, he was my brother. I was like, nailed it, knew it, totally got it.
And Kirk was so annoyed when he's like, you didn't tell, this is a running theme, Spock doesn't say anything about his home life.
When they're introduced with those old scientists in the original series, they have no idea that they're being introduced to Spock's dad.
No.
It's only at the last minute that they find out it's his mum and dad that's coming on board.
Yeah, he's like, oh, this is my mum and dad. And Kirk's like, you what?
Although they are estranged.
Oh, the whole Amok Time episode where Spock's like, yeah, we need to go back to Vulcan because I've got to do a thing with my betrothed wife. And again, everyone's like, you what?
I feel like I think this is believable to me. I think we everyone knows somebody from work who just doesn't tell you about their life. And so when they randomly say something, you just kind of go,
huh?
Where's this come from? What the fuck are you on about? Like, we all have it. I'm probably the Spock of my work because I don't divulge that much about my private life to people. And so when I randomly say something, some people are like, what's going on here? What's happening there? I mean, I've had people go, how long's that happened? I'm like, oh, about 3 years or something. And they'll go, what? And I'm like, yeah. I do.
It's believable in character that Spock just doesn't talk about personal life stuff.
And I get it. I just totally get it. Like, you didn't ask, so why would I say it?
Yeah.
No, he was bullied. It was horrible.
Vulcans don't talk about their emotions.
Yeah.
But at this point in the films, they're still establishing the whole cultural heritage, rules, structures, societies and things for these different races like Vulcans, Klingons.
Creating a Klingon language for the films because they needed it.
Mm-hmm. So they're still working out some of these things at this point.
You can learn Klingon on Duolingo.
Oh, on Duolingo.
There you go.
It's hit mainstream. Do you know that someone translated Hamlet into Klingon and has performed it?
Fucking sad.
And you can buy the script book.
I'm sorry. So I would like to comment on one little thing. I really like how in all of the films that it's not just a bunch of white dudes. I like that there's a mix of ethnicities and a mix of genders, and it's not a new thing. It's not like they're doing it for 2023. It's something that's
woke.
Yeah,
so-called woke.
It's always been like there. Like I really like that.
Yeah, it was Gene Roddenberry's idea to have
an international.
His whole idea with Star Trek was that it was an optimistic future where we would be working side by side and not being all separate into different countries.
Well, yeah, it's nice. It was just nice to see representation, to be quite honest.
In the original pilot, they actually had a woman as a first officer, but the test audience, they didn't react well. They were like, who does she think she is? So they had to replace her with Uhura in a slightly less prominent position. It's still an important position, but people were not ready at the time for a woman in a command role.
Yeah.
Although they did do one of the first interracial kisses on TV.
Yeah.
And they did do a whole story about racism. It is something that was good for 60s and was good for 80s films as well. I mean, if you look at Star Wars, which, yes, I will mention that every chance I get, there was only one black man in Star Wars.
Yeah, I was going to say it's very whitewashed, isn't it?
And that was the second film.
And there was only one woman in Star Wars as well.
Yeah.
Granted, she was the badass of the series. Anyway, what are some of your thoughts on the themes of these films?
Whales.
Twice. Wales is actually Star Trek 2.
No, it's not.
Moby Dick.
The Ahab.
Oh, all right. Sorry.
Did you pick up, Dan, on that theme of obsession, revenge at all costs?
No, mainly because I didn't know that was what Moby Dick was about, because I've never read it.
I've never read it. I only know what I know about it from Star Trek.
Yeah, same here.
I did English lit. I'm not being funny about it. I just never did Moby Dick, so I just didn't know what it was about.
There's a TV movie with Patrick Stewart in the lead.
All right.
From the 90s.
I think there's a bit of Paradise Lost as well in Star Trek 2 as well.
Well, if you look at the books on the shelves in Botany Bay, there's Paradise Lost and Moby Dick.
Yeah.
But you did pick up when we were watching about Khan getting so obsessed, because he could have just bogged off in his ship with his crew, his people, and gone, hey, we're sorted now, let's go. But he didn't. He was so obsessed with Kirk. Every time he heard Kirk's voice, he's suddenly like losing it.
Yeah, I do get that whole revenge. It's not even like, it's not revenge at all costs. It's, he hated him that much.
For something that was not really Kirk's fault.
No, but he's put the blame on him, and he's had all these years to ferment almost with it all. And, for him, I just felt he never got the bigger picture. Like, he can never see.
Well, his crew say, look, we've got a ship now, we can go, let's go.
Yeah. It was like, yes, but this man's wronged me.
Yeah.
And he could never.
Which he hadn't,
but he couldn't get it out of his head.
Yeah.
We're saying perfect human.
Well, he thought of himself as perfect.
Yeah, but that's anybody, isn't it?
They're made to be physically and mentally more advanced and part of World War III.
Better human, not better person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was going to say. The genetic stuff of it, yes, he's, he might have better strength and all that, but yeah, he didn't have like the emotional side of things the same.
Or it's like the people who engineered them only focus on certain traits and decided those are the good ones. A bit like how our education system only measures about 2 forms of intelligence. A theme that's dominant across all the first several Star Trek films, actually, not just the ones we've watched. It's Kirk's arc. I don't know if you've noticed, but he has this arc of this fear of growing old, becoming irrelevant.
I picked up that it was definitely a Kirk storyline, and then a Kirk and Spock thing. I feel like it's both their journeys together as friends.
Friends.
Because he becomes an admiral, he gets promoted, and he's a desk job, and he only gets control of the Enterprise and 2 because Spock gives it to him. He didn't have to.
Yeah.
But that's because Spock, he'll do anything for Kirk, and he's like, no, you can have the chair.
He loves him, he knows what it means to him.
He also knows that Kirk is very good at being a captain.
Then that's that thing, isn't it, where like you see, well, I don't know how if you guys see it. Carl probably will attest to this because I feel like it's something that happens in our workplace. You get people who, like, I've met nurses who are very good nurses, and then they get promoted to managerial spots, but they're fucking shite managers. And just because you are extremely good at doing a specific job does not mean you can step up. I think that might be it with Kirk in some way. He's a fantastic captain, but he can't step up to being an admiral because he doesn't want to do the job.
He doesn't want to sit back and let others.
Yeah.
Out of the 6-7 managers I've worked with, there's only one that's been a good nurse, and following on from that, a good manager.
Spock is actually really good at nurturing. He's one who's very good at giving people opportunities to do stuff, because he lets Savick take the con and order the ship out of space dock.
Yeah, I can see Spock as an admiral, because I can see him stepping back.
He's happy to do that.
Yeah, and happy to not do the fun limelighty stuff.
Let people do what they're good at.
Yeah.
Whereas Kirk he is someone who has to be in the action.
He's got to do it.
Going forward to Star Trek 4, we have these days the big thing about the environment. Like, for example, a recent film, I don't know if you've seen it, a little film called Avatar 2 had a very similar thing about whales.
I've never seen any of the Avatars.
I saw the first.
You are very, very welcome to stay that way.
I like Avatar.
No.
But did you feel like you were force-fed the environmental agenda of Star Trek 4 of we've got to save these whales?
I felt like it wasn't...
It wasn't in your face?
Yeah, I don't think it was in your face, and I don't think it was force-fed, and I don't feel like it was, let's be woke, you know what I mean? It didn't feel that way. It felt very much like, guys, we kind of need to look after these animals and do something about it. It didn't feel in your face. It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel fake. I know that sounds weird, but I feel like sometimes it's a trend to talk about these things.
Saying, because, like I say, of that little film called Avatar 2, I came out of that and actually said, I prefer the Voyage Home because it had the same message, but it gave it better.
Yeah. What I found interesting was the probe did what whales do and did it went on its nose thing. I liked that because it was almost like, are they doing the same thing because they're related somehow? I like the mysticism of not knowing
what the probe is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, is it other whales and these whales
on another planet?
Yeah. And they sent out a colony to our world. That's my headcanon is exactly what it is.
I like that.
Yeah. And that they were trying to like check up on them and going, how's your colony doing, mate?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Not coming for taxes then, going, hey Dave, is Dave there?
You shouldn't say Dave because all I want to say is, you're my wife now, Dave.
Oh, that's exactly what I was thinking.
There was a sequel novel to Star Trek 4 that's called Probe, which gives you a bit of background in the probe, but doesn't destroy the mystery, really.
Which is all beta canon, so it doesn't matter.
I know, but it's still an enjoyable book. Rebecca and I have read it. I mean, I like that era. I mean, Carl, we're going to bring this up about the uniforms that are very naval-like, aren't they?
Yeah.
Can I just quickly mention something about the uniforms? I love that they have an inbuilt bib.
She fixated on the bib.
It's not a bib.
It's a bib.
Sorry, Flash. She's got me saying it now.
Because they zip it up and down all the time. And like when it was down, it just looked like a bib. It didn't help that I saw it in a canteen part as well.
Oh, yeah. They got blood splattered on it. And then you said they could just close it up now and look neat.
Exactly. But it was just like, built-in bib. Nice.
I think they looked brilliant and I want to cosplay them, but I can't do it because I'm going to Destination Trek in the middle of what I'm sure will be a very hot summer and they're made of wool. So I'll probably just wear a Star Trek
So what did you
t-shirt.
think of the uniforms and costumes in general, Dan?
Sulu's costume is amazing, and I will say it multiple times.
In
In
3
3 and 4, yeah.
Come fight me. I do like Chekhov's outfit as well.
You mean the page boy Chekhov?
No.
For those listening, Carl is holding up a photo of Chekhov in his pinkish so-called page boy outfit.
Yeah.
From Star Trek 3, which sucked.
Yeah, I liked his outfit in 4 is what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I liked his...
Yeah, thankfully he changes out of it.
Yeah.
Somehow.
They've got spare clothes on the Enterprise because he
'cause
changes
he's
before
got
they beam
outfits.
down.
Yes.
You liked Scotty's jacket, I remember
Yeah,
that.
I liked his. It was like a smoking jacket type thing. I really liked that jacket. It's like Khan's outfit as well, with the showing off his
the
chest.
gloves.
Well, yeah, I like the showing off the chest. It's like a power move. It's not necessarily a fancying thing. I just think it's a power move to be like, yes, I am that powerful.
Okay, so let's move away from costumes. One of the themes that keeps coming up is the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one is a Vulcan proverb, and they keep quoting that. But of course, in Star Trek 3, they say sometimes the needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many, and they all risk their careers to save Spock.
Yes. I am somebody who generally goes for the need of the many, for the greater good.
For the greater good.
I wouldn't risk my career to save someone.
That was the whole point of Star Trek 3.
Would you risk your life for your significant other, though?
Sacrifice myself for my other half. I think it'd be circumstantial.
You should worry, Mark.
No, because me and Mark have this rule that I always said that I have to go first because I couldn't survive without being there. I know what I'm like. So I said, if whoever's dying, I'm dying first. So it depends, but then if it's just because of his own stupidity, then no, fuck him. Let him deal with the consequences.
Did you have a heart of stone, or were you emotional when Spock died, sacrificing himself?
See, this is the thing. When it comes to me and Rebecca, I'm normally the emotional one. And I'm not saying Rebecca was emotional this time. I'm just saying I'm normally the emotional one and Rebecca's normally not. But I was in Team Rebecca this time where I just didn't give a shit that he was dying.
Well, yeah.
Because you didn't know him well enough.
You hadn't seen him in else.
Yeah,
No.
so I just didn't care. I was just like, okay, he's dying.
Funnily enough, you can get a Christmas ornament of that scene with the two divided by the glass and Spot dying to hang on your Christmas tree.
Why the fuck would you want one of them?
Yeah,
I'm a bit late.
Because Star Trek fans and merchandise are very strange, and there's a lot of it.
To be fair, you can get a Christmas ornament of Batman going down the Batpole into the Batcave. So there is some weird stuff out there.
Yeah, but
for
that's
Christmas
not
ornaments.
that's not quite the same as a man dying from radiation sickness.
Quick question. Is he a man? Are Vulcans men?
He's half human.
But they're still men.
Yeah, they have two genders. There is a race called the Andorians that have 4 genders.
And there's another that have no gender.
Yeah.
And they're used as an allegory.
Yeah.
Something to look forward to as you watch more Star Trek, which I'm sure you will.
Yeah, this whole podcast hasn't been a ploy to get Dan to watch Star Trek at all.
Mm-hmm.
Would you watch any more adventures with Kirk and his crew?
I don't know, is the answer. I watched 5 on my own.
Yeah.
And, I've wrote some bits and it made me laugh and I enjoyed it. If it was on telly and I had nothing else to watch, sure. But I don't feel like it's something I necessarily go out of my way to watch. If you made me watch it, I probably wouldn't protest as much. I'm not saying there wouldn't be any protesting, there would be some. But, yeah, I'd watch it. But it's not something I'd actively seek.
No, unless it's Lower Decks.
Unless it's Lower Decks, I like Lower Decks. I feel like I'd want to now venture into probably Next Gen and stuff, mainly because that's what I've seen a lot of.
Yeah.
Clips wise, you know what I mean? That's what I've seen a lot of. So
Yes.
I'd like to see how that's different.
The way you think you might like Deep Space Nine, because that's a bit grittier and more character driven.
I disagree, but
That's
Yeah.
why I said it, because you were here.
Star Trek Voyager was better. No, but the thing I want to ask you actually is, it's been said before, Star Trek 4 is a good film to show someone who's not a Star Trek fan, to break them into the series.
It's a hard one to answer because I enjoyed 4, but I feel like I enjoyed 4 because I'd seen 2 and 3. I
Yeah.
feel like if you just put me down in 4, I don't think I'd have cared the same. I don't think I'd have got their relationships the same. I don't think I'd have really appreciated it in the same way. I wouldn't have got the jokes in the same way, like the way they are with each other.
Yeah.
it is a good film and I think it's enjoyable, but for me personally, thinking about it, I think I enjoyed it as much as I did because I was put through 2 and 3.
journey.
Yeah. If I wasn't and you just went here, watch 4 and that was it, I probably wouldn't give a shit. I'll be honest with you. I'd probably just gone, I'd have gone, all right, yeah, it was Star Trek. And I probably would have enjoyed it, but I probably wouldn't have wanted to actively look into any more.
These 3, would you say, were probably the best introduction?
As a trilogy, yes, I think so, because it's a good story arc. Like I say, 2 was a bit, slow for me. But then, like, by 3, you were just like, oh, okay. And then by 4, it was like, yeah, I'm in. Like, I'm groovy with this. Let's keep going. Let's keep the ball rolling. And that made me want to watch 5 when I got told to watch one more. And I was like, yeah, go on, I'll pick 5 on. And I didn't come out of that going, oh, I don't want to. I enjoyed it for what it was. But yeah, I think it's all 3 of them rather than just 1.
I'd seen Star Trek 2 on video as a kid and was put off it because of the ears scene until I went to see Star Trek 4 at the cinema. And then I went back and reappraised the whole of the series. For me, 4 was my gateway drug, if you like, to the series.
I think if you're into sci-fi, 4 would get anybody into it. I think for somebody who's proclaimed not a sci-fi fan, I think you need, at least for me, I needed more of their backstory, a bit more of their relationship, a bit more of the journey there to appreciate it.
Like you, Carl, I saw Star Trek 4 at the cinema. I was 12, so how old were you when that came out?
I'd have been
86.
I'd have been about 9.
So that was the first one I saw on the big screen, but I'd seen 2 and 3 on video, so obviously I knew what was going on.
I'd never seen 3 on video at the time.
I remember there was a recap at the start of 4, and reading up on it, that was only in Europe. Because in America, they had that dedication to the Challenger crew, which I always forget is there when I watch it on DVD or Blu-ray, because that's not how I saw it.
What we saw.
No.
So overall, you enjoyed this trilogy?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the trilogy.
Yeah, and you're glad you watched it.
So I think this is, that's good.
Yeah.
I think this is bringing us to a natural conclusion. So, Dani.
Yes.
It's time to score.
Time to score.
What would you give out of 5 Dani's Star Trek 2?
Kevin's prediction is very close.
Kevin's prediction was 2 for anybody who wants to know.
2.5.
Ooh, I thought that. I thought 2 or 2.5.
2.5 down the middle. It got us started. Let's just put it that way.
I think you'd enjoy it more if you've seen more and go back to it later. I mean, I don't think you will, but I think you would. Because you'd know the characters more.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, I just think it was a bit slow for me, probably because I didn't know the characters. I felt like it was like, okay, this is, like the TV series, but now you're just putting an episode into a film. It was okay, is what I'm going to say. It was okay.
Could be also you're not into things like military, stuff like Hornblower. And...
It's like Master and Commander, isn't it?
Yeah, because it is very influenced by that. The naval battle kind of stuff.
Yeah, I never watched anything like that.
What about Star Trek 3?
Which our producer gave, I predicted 3 Dannies.
And he got that on the nail.
Ooh,
3 Dannies.
It's like you're following the numbers of the films with your scoring here.
You know, when Kevin said it, I was like, very intriguing. You're saying 2 for 2, 3 for 3, 4 for 4. Yeah, I think it was better than 2, but...
I agree.
It was still okay. I know that's how it sounds. It was still middle of the grounds for me.
I think this thing with 3 is it's wedged in, isn't it? And it's not very standalone.
It's not standalone.
Isn't that an Italian pasta?
Yeah, I don't know. It was for me. It was very much like the same of 2, but a tiny bit better.
It's only interesting when it's on the Enterprise or it's on the Klingon ships.
Oh, when they're stealing the Enterprise from space dock, that's all fun.
Yeah, that's fun.
The heist is brilliant, which is why they recreated it in Lower Decks.
Oh, McCoy in the bars.
But when they're on the specifically
Genesis
planet
with David and
Savick, on the Grissom, then it's
that's
just...
the bits where I zoned out. I was a bit bored.
Yeah,
there.
I think those are the slower bits.
But yeah, and I feel like for 3, it felt very much like they could have been like a serial. Like it could have been just like episode 1 and then episode 2. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yes.
I understand that like the sequels and stuff like that, and you would have things that tie in, but it just felt very much like it could have. Yeah, it was just
There's at least
it was just the same story but continued, if that makes sense.
Well, you didn't have the attachment to Spock when he died. Did you have any attachment to the Enterprise when that was blown up and the characters were looking at it as it crashed down to the planet?
No. And to be fair, I had more attachment to that because I've seen that fucking loads throughout my lifetime. But no, none. Didn't care.
Going back to Star Trek 4, when they showed the Enterprise A, when they showed that as their new ship, how did that make you feel?
Nothing. Nothing.
I knew you'd say that.
Yeah, just nothing.
I could see that coming them country mile off, but it had to be asked because we asked about the old one dying. So how many Danis will you give Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, the greatest of all the films in this trilogy? Not that I'm biased.
I am between two scores.
Oh.
Have we ever had this before?
No, I'm a bit tense now.
It's just whether or not it goes into a certain league in my head.
Yeah, you're comparing it against Dani's that you've given other films and series.
Yeah, I feel like I'm comparing it against like other sci-fi, but it's a different type of sci-fi to the other sci-fi.
Of course.
I'm gonna go for it. It's 5. 5.
5. Wow.
5 for me.
Starcop's got 5, didn't it?
Starcop's got 5 and Stone Tape got 5.
Got a third 5.
This is our third 5.
Wow.
Turns out I like sci-fi shit.
Oh no, we have to rename the podcast for the second season.
Yeah, Daddy kind of actually likes sci-fi.
I maybe do sci-fi.
It's the humour. I think for me it was the comedy that sold it for me. Definitely got
Leonard
me.
Nimoy directed this one and the previous one, but he also directed 3 Men and a Baby, and I think he's a really good comedy director.
I read 3 Men and a Baby.
That was his first non-Star Trek
I'm not being
film.
funny. That is one of my favourite fucking films. Like, of all time, it is one of my favourite fucking films.
I think she might be turning to a Leonard Nimoy fan.
Yeah, like, this is what I was going to say. With Star Trek 4, it felt like a very good 80s film. Wholesome, easygoing, you put it on, you didn't have to think, you got entertained, and I was like, so yes, 80s, because you saw me so much 70s shit.
That film made the most money out of all the Star Trek films.
I can believe it. But again, because it's, I don't know, like I said, because it just felt like
accessible to anyone.
It was accessible to anyone. Like you said, Eddie Murphy was much in it. I could believe Eddie Murphy could have been in it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it had that bit of that 80s charm about just one of those kind of films that you just put on now. You put on a Sunday afternoon and you just think this is great. But nostalgia, it's like that is a great feeling. So yeah, it gets a 5. 5 for me.
Like a John Hughes film.
I'll say yes. John Hughes.
He did a Pretty in Pink.
Pretty in Pink.
Breakfast
Club.
Oh, I like Breakfast Club.
Home Alone.
Was Footloose one of his?
Uncle Buck.
Yeah, we like John Hughes.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just one of those 80s kind of films.
Out of curiosity, what would you give 5? I know you didn't have to score it, but I'm just wondering.
She won't say 5.
Well, no, I'm not expecting 5.
That's not getting 5.
On this one, it gets a 1. It would get a 1 if it
Why
was
does
me.
God need a starship?
Probably a 4.
Oh, controversial.
Well, she's not seen 6 yet.
How is it controversial? I really
No,
don't
I just
know
think it's
controversial
funny because so many fans will be like, wait, she gave Star Trek 5 4, but Star Trek 2 2.5.
Yes.
But I liked it. I liked all the friendship stuff. I liked the relationships. I also really loved the fact that, you know, Sulu and Chekhov got called back offshore leave quite early on, but, you know, the other 3, because they forgot their communicators, were like, yeah, I'll just piss around for a bit longer in the woods, like camping.
It's funny because McCoy always moans about, because he was a doctor, that's where he trained, and he was always roped into Starfleet, like drafted and stuff, or pulled back in, and he's always like not wanting to go back, but then who does he choose to spend shore leave with? And he says it, saying, who do we spend our time with? We could be with family or love interest, but no, they're together, the 3 of them.
He goes with his work family.
I get the sense McCoy is this kind of person. He'd complain no matter what situation he's in, because that's just how he does it.
He is. He's grumpy.
He hates transporters. He hates space.
Say, McCoy is me. I'm that person. I will complain about everything. I'll still get on with it. Don't mean I won't complain about it. Yeah, totally get him.
I have a real world example for you, Vet. I just had to edit the reaction to the Stone Tape. And you moan and complain throughout the entire reaction.
It sounds like you're going to hate it.
I am all there listening to it and yeah, you're going to sum this up as something you despise. And then you get to the end and like, I love this.
Yeah, you spend the whole reaction going, oh.
Thing is though, I'm going to say it, and I think McCoy's the same as me in this regard. I just love to complain. It's an emotional thing. It's cathartic. It's a great feeling.
Well, I think this brings us to the end of our episode. Carl, how did you enjoy your experience with us? Was this your first podcast?
This is my first time in a podcast, yes.
Ooh, hopefully not last.
We will have to wait and see. Yes, I really enjoyed being with you all, and it's so great doing this with good friends and fellow science fiction fans. If anybody wants to find me on the socials, you can do so by searching for Carl the Jedi on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, and look out for my book when I do finally finish it and publish it, coming to a Amazon screen near you.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode of I Don't Do Sci-Fi. Do let us know what you thought. Our social media contact details will be at the end of the podcast. Join us next time on I Don't Do Sci-Fi when we're going to be watching a Korean sci-fi drama called The Silent Sea with guest Mark Alley. Woo! Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Live long and prosper.
Bye.
May the force be with you. Always.
Thank you for listening to I Don't Do Sci-Fi. If you'd like to contact us or comment on the show, email us at idon'tdosci-fi@gmail.com, Twitter at I Don't Do Sci-Fi, on Instagram, I Don't Do Sci-Fi, or on Facebook, I Don't Do Sci-Fi. I Don't Do Sci-Fi was presented by John Isles, Dani Ray, and Rebecca Ray, and our guest, Carl Bowler. The theme tune was composed by Steve Johnson, and the podcast was directed and produced by Kevin Hiley.
Reconciled until spoilers.
Until spoilers. But
Until
anyway,
spoilers.
the Starfleet thing, he says...
Starfleet thingy says so.
Yeah.
Did you just say that?
I don't know what I said.
Starfleet thingy says
I don't know what I said.
Please keep this in, Kevin.
Starfleet thingy says so.
Yeah.
I can mention some other Star Trek, but that'd be a spoiler for you. Where
Please
they have
don't.
a similar thing.
Let's not. Just in general, just don't.